Good morning. This is where to keep all the wild men in Bilico Turnova. Honestly, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about this morning. There's so much. I'm sitting up in the hostel on my own for the last few days. And when I'm sitting up somewhere on my own for a few days, there's so much I want to say because I think so much and think so much and think so much. So when I get the opportunity to speak, there's so much to say that I can't even. I was walking down here this morning trying to think, where will I even start? Where will I even start? There's so much I want to say. Where's the yoga teacher? The yoga teacher is gone. Shit got so crazy that she left. And I've been thinking about that too. I remember sitting with an ex-girlfriend of mine one time. We were drinking a cup of coffee and having a slice of carrot cake. No, lovely carrot cake actually. And we were sitting having a cup of coffee and a slice of carrot cake, and she said to me, did you ever notice how small all the men's arms are? And I said, no, not really. And she says to me, like, we'd been going out together for 19 years. And we were sitting having a cup of coffee. And she said to me, whenever, like, all the men that used to be all around the house, she said, all the men that were in the house, all the men that used to come to the house, all had big arms, all had big arms. She said, then when we were finished going out together, she noticed that all the men actually have very small arms. But it's sort of like the same with me when it comes to craziness. Like I'm surrounded by so many crazy people that I don't really like. I think nearly now that the whole world is crazy, and I actually forget. Like what I've been doing over the last 3 days is trying to remember normal people. But then life has never been normal. But I'm trying to remember normal people. And I suppose when I'm looking at this sea of people that come to see Deborah DeLuca or Anastasia, let they go or whatever, like, are they the normal people? That this sea of zombies, this sea of zombies. This sea of zombies this is the normal people now. I'm out of touch with reality. I think my reality is completely different, and how wonderful is that? That's amazing. But I suppose then if you come to share this reality, if you're not crazy, it must be really crazy. But what is crazy? So I've been thinking about for the last few days is I've been thinking about that nuclear physicist for starters, that compared to me, how stupid I must be compared to this nuclear physicist. Like, can you imagine how he must perceive the world? How he must perceive the world, the model that he must see the world through. Like, if he's breaking down atoms and he's really seeing it, the most minuscule details of life. Can you imagine his conception of the world and how different it must be to mine or yours or anybody else's? But yet, like, even though he perceives the world completely different to us, to me anyway, and to you obviously, he's not crazy. No, he's an academic. He's an intelligent man, and he's not crazy because he has been certified as an academic, and his skills has a practical use. He's not expendable. His skills have a practical use. I mean, like, we have well, sure, I'm not quite sure. I suppose you can make an atom bomb or do nuclear energy or something else, like, but it doesn't matter. He must be worth all the money that they pay him because he's not expendable. You know what I mean? He's not expendable. It's not everybody can perceive the world like this, that can see the world from this model or see the world from a completely different perception to normal people. This is what makes him valuable, I suppose, that he perceives the world in a completely unique and a way that is of practical use to society. Not like me, I just do bullshit. Uh, yeah. But then he could do maths. He could do maths, which puts him head and shoulders above all the rest of us because he could do maths. And we really can't challenge that. Like, if he writes out a maths formula there and hands it to you or hands it to me, so we may as well be looking up a donkey's arse. We'll just have to accept that way more intelligent than we are because we can't fucking understand him. So we have to accept that he's way more intelligent than us. Yeah. Yeah, am I finished on the nuclear physics? Yeah, but I hate maths. I always hated maths. Maybe it's a part of being a part of being stupid. But the reason for this is Plato would have said like that maths is the highest form of abstraction, and I don't agree with this. I would be more in line with Aristotle. I would say art is the highest form of abstraction. But then, of course, this is a matter of perception. But depending on or what model you see the world through. But yeah, I insist that art is the highest form of abstraction. Like the amount of art, I'm waiting for somebody crazy enough to come up and talk to him about the philosophy in the wake and dead, because it's so deep and so profound that I'm still writing about it, reflecting on it, thinking about it, breaking it down. Uh, and it's all life condensed into a series, which is a hypothesis for my philosophy. For example, the way the church was represented by Gabriel. Now, I can't go too much into it, but basically he started out as a coward, where he locked out all the people and only cared about himself, and he was just a coward. He was just a weak coward, a weak individual. But he became strong and ruthless and everything else. But like there's 11 series, like, so I can't condense it down into the few minutes that I have. But Gabriel was a representation of the church, for example, and the nature of change through the adversity and everything else. So Gabriel was a representation of the church, and then all the different archetypes were you have all the different archetypes. And then, like, when we got to the modern suburbia, what was it called? Took me. I keep losing it. And I've lost it again. The Commonwealth. This was the modern suburbia, the place with 50,000 people. This was the utopia from all the chaos and everything else. This was the utopia. This is the place they got the ice cream for the first time in years. They were handed the ice cream, which is just a distraction from their safe and secure lives. This for for the likes of Daryl. Daryl was one of my favourite characters, absolute favourite characters, because for so many reasons. This is, he was a a true alpha, you know what I mean? A true alpha. But for example, like when we got to the we had such contrast. When we got to the Commonwealth, we had these academics who built this society. They created this society, they built this society, they determined the nature of change in this society. But they also, like when somebody suggested a sponsorship program, they no way they were having this, because they didn't want their positions threatened. And the first thing they did was segregate people according to their academic. So they created an academic hierarchy within this society, similar to what we have now, an academic hierarchy. But then on top of this academic hierarchy, they had the people who considered themselves so fucking intelligent. They were so much smarter than everybody else. And the main protagonist in this was the man who decided to expand the Commonwealth. He was a sleazy, well, like, that's a judgment, isn't it? Well, maybe it's a judgment of character. He was a sleazy, horrible individual, weak individual that used to just manipulate, and corruption and manipulation and coercion and mentally exploit people, like, and like playing chess, if you like, in a way, but from a sneaky and calculated position. And I said to myself, yeah, you see, this is what they portray the they consider themselves the top of the pinnacle of the whole thing. But if I was to ask myself, who would I want on my team? Do I want that sleazy, horrible fucker? No, I don't want that sleazy, horrible fucker that's always waiting. That's like the Senate in Rome, always waiting to knife me or to usurp me, you know what I mean? No, I'd want Daryl on my team. Who's brave, fearless, intelligent, tracker, can fix motorbikes, can build things, can do so much. He can do so much worse than this horrible fucking weasel. This horrible fucking weasel that just manipulates and exploits everybody. I would want Daryl, and Daryl, like, the changes through Daryl where it became like a, went from being, like, so loyal, so the value of friendship, the connections that were made through the adversity. But one thing struck me, like, was what Alexandria in The Waking Dead was like Socrates' city of pigs. And you know you can look up Socrates' City of Pigs, I can't tell you now. But it was like Socrates' City of Pigs. Now, when I read about Socrates' City of Pigs, I said one thing, that's all well and that's all good, but they're a sitting duck. They're a sitting duck, and there'll always be a sitting duck for everybody that goes beyond this with capitalism. So basically, these communist regimes will always be a sitting duck for those who want them to produce and work for them, exploit their labour. But in order to do this, they first of all have to exploit their desires. But there's so much room to exploit their desires when they have fuck all. They have fuck all. Now, it's very easy for an academic hierarchy, such as Mao, to say, oh, you don't want anything, you don't need anything, you don't want anything. You know what I mean? Yeah, you don't need those desires because you'll only be enslaved by your desires. You don't want any of those comfortable couches or any of that fancy shit that they have in the West. You don't need or want it. But this is him creating a collective mindset, him telling them what they need, and on the other hand we have the West knocking on the door. No, we're going to exploit your desires. Would you not like to be comfortable? And you're not civilized. To have flash cars and to have all this is civilization, and you're a little bit. But again, Alexander did this too, didn't he? Yeah. So did the Romans. Went around to all the barbarians and said, you're not civilized. We're going to bring you up to our lifestyle, nice buildings, nice things, orgies and feasts and everything else. Yeah, this is life, isn't it? This is dialectics. This is life. This is dialectics. Yeah, and we compare that back to an individual level. But anyway, so this brings me back to something that I want to just fit this in if I have time. I remember one thing from the cognitive behavioral therapy course, and I've been thinking about it for the last 3 years. My big takeaway from the cognitive behavioral therapy course was our thoughts impact on how we perceive the world and how we see the world. Our thoughts impact on how we see the world, and how we see the world impacts on our thoughts. Now, think about that, because that's really, really worth thinking about, and how you can't change one without the other. That's a paradox, and it's like training body and mind, body and mind, body and mind. It's very hard to train one without the other, because this is the big takeaway. How we see the world impacts on our thought processes, and our thought processes impact on how we see the world. Now, I'm going to go a little bit deeper than this. I'm sick telling people that the internal world is and the external world are two sides of the same coin. There's no big difference between them. All you are is a little your two eyes are, or wherever your skin is your meat suit is a dividing line. But between the like, it's the finite in the infinite, but if you just see the finite with no consideration for the infinite, like the Hermetics would say, I'm getting lost in this, but the Hermetics would say everything is mind. Now, you can't expect me to explain my conception of this to you, but everything is mind. I could break it down to a physics model if you want. Now, not saying my physics model is accurate. A nuclear physicist might blow my physics model out of the water and say, you stupid cunt. But my physics model works for me, and I still have to find someone that can refute it. I found a few physics people, one that seemed to find it interesting, and then I said to my soul, are you making a cunt out of me? This man doesn't seem, he studies physics, he doesn't seem to agree with mine. And my soul said to me, do you believe him over me? And I said, no, I don't. Now, why should I? My soul teaches me philosophy, it teaches me medicine, it teaches me how to fix everything, it teaches me, taught me this physics. Why should I turn around and say, no, I don't trust you, I don't trust you? No, I'm not going to go with the academic. I'm absolutely not going to go with the academic. But then the next day, the academic said, that's quantum physics, there's no evidence. And I says, oh, Jesus, you know how much that shite is actually holding you back. But anyway, let's not go there. I wanted to talk about so much. I wanted to talk about Rate My Takeaway. I wanted to talk about Andrew Tate. Because these are all thoughts. Thoughts. You understand thoughts? Right.